be broken, and tears they may fall. But after decades of hoping, it's nice to be here at all. They didn't see us coming, but we can make it alone. Let's just believe until we have to go home.
Morning all, welcome into another Euro breakfast. I've already seen me getting abuse in the chat. I'm 1 minute late. give us a break, Malden.
You've got standards to uphold, Mozza. You've got standards to uphold, you know?
Apparently so. People clearly don't watch me enough if they expect me to be on time every day. But I am delighted to be joined, firstly, by that man you've just heard right there, of doubtful Ukrainian heritage, Mr. Tony Jameson. How are you?
Unquestionably Ukrainian heritage. Like, come on. Listen to the accent. Can you not tell I'm from the main streets of Ukraine town? So, yeah.
And on your far right, a man of very much proud, good family man, English stock, Bilal Zafar Savarcakes. Welcome in. How are you?
Thank you. How's it going?
Pretty good. I'm looking forward to today for different reasons to yesterday, I think. But
Yeah.
we'll start off with yesterday's games first anyway. And I feel bad for Switzerland, so we'll start there. That Spain sneaked through ultimately, but the Swiss ran them all the way, and we kind of predicted it yesterday. We thought Spain would be a bit, not rubbish, but they're not as good as they've been. And the Swiss almost did them in the end. That red card and everything else went against them though. Who wants to go first?
Go
I
ahead.
think you've hit the nail on the head there. I think without the red card, you'd maybe looking at a different outcome. Like that doesn't go to extra time. Maybe it certainly doesn't go to penalties. Like the Swiss have proven they've got some sort of like something about them, and you know, Spain just look weak at the back. They look really weak at the back. And I think it's like what I found most sort of frustrating is when you listen to sort of this new Spain they talk about, this gritty, determined Spain that's not the tick-a-tacker Spain that we're used to, and you see they're having 800 passes in the first half and 80% possession. You're like, it's the same Spain. It's the same Spain. Basically, what you mean is you haven't got a goal scorer, your defense is crap. That's the Spain you're talking about now. Like
This is true. Yeah. Maybe we got spoiled for a week in a tournament or two in the middle because we forget they used to do this all the time.
Yeah.
But what did you think of the game, below?
I was so disappointed with Shaqiri getting injured because I really thought he was the one who was going to make something happen in extra time, you know. And then Mbolo as well, who's quite good. He got injured early on, didn't he? So it was like, it just felt like such a struggle for Switzerland.
Sommer had a great game though. Sonner, he's had a game of his life just about. He was well and truly in the shop window, wasn't he?
Oh, that was brilliant. Yeah, it was a great game though. Like I'm so glad it's been so exciting. I was a bit worried. So didn't you think, I think it was sort of after like 20 minutes, it was just all Spain.
Yeah.
And it looked like it was going to be a bit of a disappointing game, but luckily it was really good. And yeah, I agree. It's weird how much Spain have fallen off. Like, so I mean, obviously they're still doing well technically, but like when you remember what they were like, sort of in, was it 2000 and which World Cup was it? 2008 and 2010, the Euros and World Cup. Is that right?
Back to back, wasn't it?
You remember how they were just untouchable, just kept passing the ball, and now they feel very, I don't think anyone expects them to go on and win it, do they?
I could now see them going to the final, which by pure luck, right enough. But I don't think they're very good. Like they're just kind of, they're squeaking through. The amount of chances they miss is crazy. Like, apologies to anyone that plays fantasy football because I had Moreno in my team, so it's kind of my fault that happened. But just the chance he missed, and you think he's one of the top scorers in Spain. So he's got a touch of the Maratas about him.
but this is the thing though. Like think about the chances they've missed. They could be like they could literally be history makers and scored the most goals in the tournament by this stage. Like they've missed some clear cut chances, and we're not talking like 50-50s. We're talking like 99 to 1s. You've managed to miss somehow. Like all that going forward, and they're still leaking goals and comical goals at the back as well. That's what's going to cost them. You know.
Yeah.
If they can iron out up front, they'll win 7-5 if they need to. But If not, it's going to be there's potential danger. But you're right, we're now
Do you
in
think-
the latter stages.
Do you think they'll beat Italy 7-5 in the
Ooh,
semi-final?
I think a Spain-Italy man, this guy's got 1-1 written all over it. Hasn't it?
Yeah.
That's another penalties gig, that isn't it? But the other thing with Spain that they just don't look as good as they used to going forward. Generally, I don't think. Like, even though they're still creating chances, the old days when they were still doing the kind of short passing football, it was quick and it was like exciting. Now they get towards the final third and they just kind of sit there and hope, almost like they're waiting for somebody to kind of spark something. And Pedri's been really good. I think he's the main man that.
You're missing players like Iniesta or Xavi who would just pick the game up and run with it. Like, there's no one in the side now who's doing that, or has the confidence or the belief in himself, or even belief from the manager maybe, who sort of says, look, right, you run the game, right? Okay, you call it out on the pitch, see what you want to do. Like, even the fact that Ramos isn't there, there's not someone just grabbing the game by the scruff of the neck and going like, come on, like, you need to sort yourselves out here. And I think that's what they're lacking. They're lacking a bit of experience and a bit of game management and a game changer.
Do you know, it's a funny thing because who was it there? Neil said, bear in mind Spain have scored 5 goals in 2 separate matches and we're still saying this about them.
Yeah.
I think it tells you more about the teams they're coming up against, though, in the way those games have gone, that I can't see them beating Italy. I genuinely can't see a way that Italy don't go through there. But kind of touching on the Swiss just before we move on, because I feel like we're ignoring them here. For everything that went against them, they did brilliantly to come back and just keep going, and I think their penalties, you could tell they were shattered because there was just no energy in them whatsoever. It wasn't like when they played France, their pens were all fantastic. They could barely get the ball off the ground at the end, and that's what did them, I think. Any thoughts?
Yeah. I think so. But I'll go on.
Go on. I don't actually. I just said and then I was going to use that time to think of something.
Oh, you're buying time. Okay, like you've got the time wasting button on. Okay, yeah. I thought Switzerland have surprised a few people. I think at the start of the tournament, I remember watching one of these at the start of the tournament, and Switzerland were getting voted for not even playing all 3 games. Like, they might as well just get sent home after 2 matches or something for wasting everyone's time. But they've turned up and they're drilled and they're organised. Shaqiri's having a great tournament. You know, again, we're talking about players in the shop window. He's clearly put himself in the window for a move over the summer. I think Sonna's been great. I think Embolo's been fantastic. And I think it's just that the fact that no one's been backing them, they've just gone under the radar and done their own thing, and they're drilled, they're organised. And you're right, I just think that it just took too much out of them, and it was even a stretch walk into the penalty spot was just too much for them last night. So they should have been allowed like a new substitution rule where you had fresh players just for penalties. But yeah, so it's fair play. You know, they've got a good squad, and will they maybe get the World Cup? I don't know, maybe, but it's certainly interesting. They've certainly come and done better than I think most people would expect.
It's just it's been such a good tournament for that, hasn't it? For teams just not laying down, even the game against France, when it looked like it was over, when Pogba scored that goal and did about 5 dances. She probably regrets now. That was it, wasn't it? Like, I was kind of half watching it from then because I just thought, well, this is done. And it's like every game has that feeling now where it just feels like it's not over. Keep going. It's been amazing.
The tournament's been great generally, hasn't it? Ironically enough, the Boden games have all been England games, but
that's fine there.
I was going to say, you won't mind if you're going through. But I've really enjoyed it, especially that Monday night when it was just 3-3 and 5-3. I don't think I've seen a better day of football ever.
It was exhausting.
It was genuinely exhausting. Like, I had to go to bed straight off.
I think it was the sort of day where if you've not got into tournament football before, and this is the first time of watching it, and you sit and you go, is it like this all the time? And you kind of go, yeah, it's definitely like this all the time. Like, this is 100% what football's like. And if you didn't get it on that day, then you're never going to get it. Like, it was superb, absolutely superb.
But even the kind of smaller nations have just had a go and they've scored goals generally, other than Scotland. So that's helped as well. You've not really had a game where in the World Cup you've always got a dead rubber that finishes 0-0 with 2 really poor teams. I don't think we've had that in this, because even the 0-0s we've had, the England-Scotland game was still quite exciting, I thought, even though there was no goals. So yeah, it's been pretty good entertainment all round. I mean,
I think
Great.
after the season we've had as well, like we talk about players sort of like not really having a pre-season, they've been run ragged. Like the players on the whole look like they've still got a fair amount of energy, even coming to this stage of the tournament. And you're right, it's only when we get towards the last 5 minutes of extra time, getting towards penalties, when it's starting to show that actually now I'm blowing a little bit. But even before that, like players are still zipping about at a decent pace, and that's testament to how the game's progressed. I think maybe try this 10 years ago, you'd have seen players flagging after 50 minutes. And you know, what I've noticed is not as many people pretending they've got cramp in this tournament as well.
Well, I don't know. Italy made up for it in the last 5 minutes last night,
Well,
didn't they?
yeah.
That was great, wasn't it? Really good game management.
Talking of which, let's get to it, because they did what Italy do. They go ahead, like, for all the great attacking football they're playing, they stayed ahead by 1 goal the whole second half, managed the game, and then fell down like they were snipers in the stands in the last 5 minutes and saw the game through. But I think Italy's the best team in this tournament. Like, they were just great again last night. Belgium were a wee bit fortunate to get their penalty and get back into it, but even though De Bruyne played fantastic as well, I just think Italy's the kind of team that can nullify any other side if they get things right.
It's hard to see who's going to beat them, isn't it? Like that's the
Yeah.
one that I think, as an England fan, I'm like, I don't see how England beat Italy. Really, they just seem like they have the perfect balance, which I think a lot of teams kind of lack. Like a lot of teams kind of seem like who was it? Who was playing yesterday? Where I thought, wait, so Spain. What was the second? Belgium. It felt like Belgium are a team who are like, class in a lot of positions, but then they've got like Vermaelen playing, and they had Chadley coming on, like these players that you saw in the Premier League like 10 years ago. So it felt massively unbalanced, where you've got a few world-class players and then a few that you feel like shouldn't really be there. Whereas Italy, you feel like they're just very strong everywhere, don't you? I know they've got some injuries now. That Spinazzola, that was a shame.
Yeah, it's a huge blow, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, without talking in cliches, like the only team that's going to be Italy is Italy. Like, and it's like if they don't muck up, then you're right. Like they should be the tournament favourites now. Like they're doing everything they need to do. They're scoring goals. They're managing the game defensively. They're strong. Like what's it? Chiellini's like 407. He's still like rocking around, and like but even then though, last night they've got that little bit of luck that you need in the tournament as well. Like Lukaku missing that shot like on the goal line somehow. How he's missed that, I've got no idea. There's another good save as well from Donnarumma, and like De Bruyne has a good effort, and you're sort of like they weren't out of it. Like they got that little bit of luck you need at this stage of a tournament, and they seem together. Like I don't know if you've seen the video this morning of them on the plane singing for Spinazzola. That's a huge blow, by the way, having him out injured. But as you say there, Bilal, they've got players who are going to come in who are first team players. You're not bringing in your players who are backups for a team to be your backups at international level. So yeah, you're right. They've got first teamers all over the pitch, and that should theoretically be enough to see them through. I hope.
Yeah, I didn't think I was just so sure they were going through yesterday, even when Belgium were attacking. Didn't you think, even if it went to extra time, you still thought Italy have got this?
I couldn't see Belgium winning it. Even watching the first half hour of the game, you just thought this is going the way I think it's going to go. And
the thing with Belgium is it's a lot of really talented individuals. It's not a team. It's not a team. Like
that's how it feels. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a shame that again, finally, like the last sort of Scottish contingent has gone as well from the tournament. So, Sean Maloney, the coach. So we're officially out of the tournament now. So we got so
claim
far.
someone in England backroom staff now. But the only thing I can see with Italy, like, by the way, just before I get to that, I love the fact that they celebrate defensive play like scoring a goal.
Oh,
In fact, they're hugging and kissing each other when they're like prevented Lukaku. It was Spinazzola, wasn't it? And prevented him in the back post. And Chiellini just giving a big wet soapy kiss on the cheeks and that.
You just want that defense like that.
But no team celebrates defending like the Italians. I saw somebody tweet it and retweeted it last night. It's just such a it gives me joy to see that, because it's not just about scoring goals for them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know if people say they're defensively a wee bit frail, a bit slow, I just don't see that affecting them too much. The way things are going, that nobody's really best placed to take advantage of that that's left in this tournament. I can see Harry Kane's not the quickest. If you look at the other side, Patrick Schick for the Czechs. Denmark don't really have a speed demon up front. Spain don't have a speedy striker as such. So I don't see anyone.
I think I think if England were to play them, the way that you maybe beat them is doing that thing of just sitting really deep and trying to counter attack, which is probably going to be so difficult against a team like that. But I don't see how else, because you couldn't just go out and attack them. I think you just get
ironically,
countered.
Italy would probably do the same as well. They'd just sit and wait for you to break them down. Like you're saying there, Kane. Like if Kane drops, and let's use the sort of Kane drops deep chat. If Kane drops deep, even Sterling or Grealish or whoever's going to try and get behind, you're talking about defenders who are used to defending against players getting in behind. So they're well positioned. They know how they can push in and tuck inside of each other. So yeah, it's almost set up for Italy. Like, yeah, Kane, drop as deep as you want. This is exactly what we want you to do. You know, yeah, Sterling might have a little run in behind, but you're talking about players who will be fully aware of that and track it.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the fact that only 3 minutes ago you said not to use cliches, and it's all you've used ever since.
Well, right, fine. What I meant was I'm going to use cliches throughout the whole thing, right?
I'm all for it. It's all good.
Can someone keep a tally of how many we get?
Get the counter going. We did have a follow come through, by the way. So, Wally, thank you for the follow as well, mate. Appreciate it. Before I forget. Right, so that's yesterday's games done and dusted. Let's get into today's offering, and we start off with the Czech Republic against Denmark. Two teams that we maybe overlooked at the start of the tournament, didn't kind of focus on too much, but I fancy Denmark to do really well here, so I'm going to stick with that. And the Czechs have probably had delighted with where they've got to already, quarterfinals. They've still got a great striker up front that gives them a chance, but the way the Danes are playing, I just can't see past them.
Yeah, that Dolberg is good, isn't he? That goal that he scored, he had a great game last time. He just looks like an all-round really good striker. If he plays like that again, then yeah. I mean, because he's starting because someone else is injured, right?
Yeah, so you've got Dolberg and Damsgaard basically because Eriksen's not in, and
right.
I can't remember who else there.
Isn't there? Oh, I can't
Someone
remember.
else is injured.
Yeah, I think there's another. Is it Poulsen?
Possibly.
He's not injured, but I don't know. They've switched it up because it wasn't always Dolberg starting up front.
Yeah, Poulsen's the guy who plays in Germany, isn't he? I think so. Might be him.
Aye, yeah, Poulsen. He's I can't remember what club it is.
We talk about Italy being a team. Like Denmark are a team right now. Like like obviously what they've been through. That is an extra man on the pitch. That's an extra 5% in teamwork. That's an extra, like when your legs are going, everyone looks at each other and it's like, no, we're all in this together, and that's gonna count for something, And they're everyone's second team now as well, with obviously with what's gone on with Eriksen. So you're right. At the start of the tournament, people would have been like, Denmark are going nowhere, whereas now it's like Denmark could be on a bit of a. There could be little dark horses there. I'm not going to say they're the turkey, but the actual dark horses this time. Yeah, and I think they're the people's choice now. If it's not Italy, it's Denmark. I'm going to work the way down in order as to who we'd like to win. And spoiler alert, the last one is England.
Yeah, it's just so hard. I mean, I think I back Denmark in this one, but like it's so hard because it's a game that if you're going to miss a game in the knockouts, you'd think maybe this one. But like that Ukraine-Sweden game was so good, which I didn't expect it to be, that dramatic extra time winner. That you just hopefully it will be like that again. Hopefully it will be like both sides really going for it and not sort of an easy Denmark win.
But even Denmark against Wales, like you probably, I don't know, like there was the red card and that, but you probably wouldn't have said Denmark are going to get 4 goals. So even in a match like that, like tournaments gone past, Denmark would have probably just took a 1-0, took a 2-0, shut up shop and not risked anything. Whereas this tournament, it's almost encouraging teams to go like teams are just going, no, we're going to get on the front foot, we're going to attack. And you're saying there about this is maybe the game you'd miss. Yeah, on paper, absolutely. But that come 8 o'clock tonight or 10 o'clock or whatever, you're going 7-2. Like, how did I miss that? Like, this is the best game ever.
But that's the thing with the Czechs. They've got a guy up front that will score goals in Patrick Schick. So that gives you every chance, even if you're not playing that well. Like, just give him 2 chances, he's going to score at least 1. So, I'm not going to go back to comparing everyone to Murata. That's not happening, because I'm just on a tangent at this point with that man. But, like, obviously we've seen Patrick Schick. We've seen what he can do, especially from his own half, the halfway line.
Yeah, don't leave him alone on the halfway line. He's dangerous. There's a man who drops deep. Like, that's how deep you want to go.
The funny thing with Denmark is they don't really have that kind of striker, yet they're still scoring all the goals. Because Dahlberg's not a guy that you put a chance and you guarantee you're going to get a goal from. Damsgaard's our main man just now, I think, because he just creates so much. Mela on the right wing back, running all the way forward, has been brilliant for them as well. So they're doing it as a team, as you said, Tony. There's not really one individual in there, but they just look dangerous as a unit, which is kind of what you need at this stage of your tournament.
That's hard to defend against as well if you've not got one main outlet to focus on. If you've then got to go, right, well, actually, it could come. The threat could come from anywhere. It's like, right, who do you pick up? You really have to look at your tactics and your marking and your zones and stuff. And yeah, it's not as easy as going, right, he's the guy, everyone around him, and then that'll nullify that threat.
There you go, the tactical masterclass.
yeah, come to me for tactics.
But any final thoughts on this personally, Bilal, before we move on?
Not really. That's we've covered everything. I don't know anything else about these teams.
Well, you know something about this team that we're about to talk about. Ukraine versus England in our final quarter final.
Hold on. Here we go. Yeah, they're broken, by the way, and I had to put blue tack on because they're so cheap.
That's a sign right there, isn't it?
That's a proper Vindaloo shades there, isn't it?
Yeah. I actually can't see very well. No, I'm excited. I think England are going to win. I think it might be a bit boring. I think Ukraine might score first. And you know what's going to happen? Ukraine are going to score. I'm going to say Yarmolenko's going to score at 14 minutes. And the commentator is going to say that wasn't in the script, like they always do. Which is offensive.
It's a good cliche, yeah.
Which is always offensive, isn't it, to the opposition?
Yeah. So you weren't meant to score.
Yeah.
And also if you were scripting it, that's exactly how you'd script it. You would script them to take the lead.
Yeah. But I do think England are... Obviously, you're a bit worried that they'll underestimate the opposition. Because it's not the sort you wouldn't expect to be playing Ukraine now, would you, at a quarterfinal, really? But I think they'll have enough, and I just think they've got too much. Like, because you've got sort of Saka, who will probably start, who can, he gives us something different, and then you've got Grealish probably coming on for impact. Sancho hasn't played yet, really. I think he came on for a couple of minutes. I just think there's too much there for England. Like. Let's say it's like 1-1 at like 70 minutes or something. I just feel like England have got some really good players to bring on with fresh legs. So
yeah,
I'd say 2-1 to England.
I think
I can see that.
We're talking about Ukraine having like some decent enough players, but this isn't the Ukraine of back in the day that had like a Shevchenko and a Rebrov. Like you're not talking world class players. You're talking players who, like your Yarmolenkos, like your Konoplyankas and that. Like they're not playing at the top level in the top clubs, being the main guy. So you're right, yeah. Like England probably have just enough to pull back from being 3-0 down at half time, and we'll take it to penalties somehow. 2 Ukrainian own goals and a Harry Kane tap in or something.
Yeah,
we'll
a really dodgy goal. Like it should have been.
It
should be ruled off, and they're checking VAR for like 10 minutes, and then it's given.
Have you seen that? It's already like everyone's already going like, all the officials are German, and all the broadcast crew's German, and it's like, because it's going to be the OB broadcast that's going to be the contentious one here. But yeah, I mean, I like the tactic of boring the opposition to death, and then just sort of picking the bones when the opposition have gone to sleep. It works. It works in tournament football. Like. You can't argue with it, really.
I think, like, their main men, you've got Yarmolenko and you've got your Yaremchuk up front. If you get them out the game, you've got basically half of the Ukrainian attack just gone. So I suspect England might go back to a back four in this, just have an extra player going forward. Like, Yaremchuk plays on his own up front, so you don't really need five at the back at any point. As much as I'd love to see Ukraine do something, I just can't see it here, because other than the Scotland game, Gareth's got his tactics spot on for every opponent, and he's changed things up to play against every opponent specifically. So I'd imagine he'll have a plan for this one as well. Going to delve back into the old stat book from earlier in the tournament. Ukraine have the least amount of players at top five clubs, top five league clubs in this tournament. So they're that kind of, they're a team unit, but they've not really got the individual stars in there. Malinovsky's meant to be one of them, but he hasn't really turned up yet. He's not done much, so we'll see if he finds his way this time. But I just can't see past England, although it would be a very England thing to lose us.
Yeah, that's the thing as well. That's what people are forgetting. I saw someone in chat say as well, like, "Oh, well, England haven't conceded, so just stop these two players. Someone else will score. Some random player they've got will come on."
All you need is a set play or a corner or something, or and that's like if they're drilling those sort of like set players in training. Then you're right. There's your opportunity. Like, yeah, you're right. Ukraine may not score and probably won't score from open play. Yeah, but there's always a set play. There's always a chance of something happening.
Any set piece,
if it comes through, it doesn't get it. Stones gets the wrong side of his head on it and sticks it to the back post for someone to tap in. Like, we've probably got enough, I reckon, to see it through.
Yeah, just never forget Iceland. Always bear that in mind, just to try and avoid it again, is what I would say. Obviously, it's easy for me to say, given that we're expected to do that in tournaments, but this is the best chance England will ever have to get to the final and win it again. Like, the one game played away from home, essentially, which would be today. Do you think that's going to have an impact, given there's going to be very few England fans in attendance in Rome?
Well, it's going to be so different to the last game against Germany, where it was just full-on England support. Like, it properly felt like a home game, didn't it? And now, because isn't it like England fans can't go to this, right? I don't know what the actual thing is. They just what country is it in again?
Italy.
It's in Italy.
Yeah. Italy. So it's only
quarantine, isn't it? So
only English people that live in Italy apparently can go. So it's gonna
it's like English people that, when the last game played, were in the UK, can't go because of quarantine rules. But if you're in a country that Italy, like, say if you lived in Spain, you could go, like, for example. Right. So you might get an exodus from the Costa del Sol over to Rome for today's game.
But you know what? That's the big thing, though. Like, if you've got either a neutral crowd who are not going to be sort of like on lifting the England players up, and that would, I mean, let's not beat around the bush. Germany aren't a great side at the minute, and England played very well and got exactly what they needed. But that crowd again lifts you a little bit more. If there was any doubt, you're playing Italy today. You've not got that. If you're looking around at 70 minutes and it's 0-0, and you go, right, we just need the crowd to get behind us a little bit more. It's not there. We've seen it in the Premier League with played behind closed doors. Like, where do the big teams go if they can't get that extra oomph? Like, that could be a factor, but it requires Ukraine still being in the game at 70 minutes. So we'll see.
I love Charmander trying to wind me up about Scotland as if we didn't expect glorious failure the whole way. It's like, we're used to this. It's normal. The other thing I'd suggest is, we're talking about a neutral crowd here. Bear in mind, Italy probably don't want to see England go through this. They'd rather see Ukraine go through. I suspect they'd probably be cheering more for the Ukrainians. That kind of like, we'd rather face a weaker opponent, so cheer them to get through.
Oh yeah, definitely support the underdog. Yeah, I was doing it yesterday with Switzerland as well. Like, absolutely, I think that is going to be a big factor. I think it's going to be like a cagey, weird game. The England game later, probably quite boring in the first half, and just sort of gets going around sort of 60 minutes or something. It might be one of those, because I don't know. But like I said, I just think England have got too much, and I think Southgate is very good at picking the side according to the game. And also, something really good about him is that because I wasn't sure about him when he first got the job, but something he does really well is like he doesn't seem to care like what anyone thinks about the team. He doesn't pick sort of the ones that are considered world class who have been doing, you know, like Sancho, for example. The team's working fine without him, even though a lot of people are annoyed at him for not picking Sancho, but he doesn't seem to care. Whereas England teams in the past, it's been like, how can we cram in everyone we think is a great player, and it just doesn't work at all. So yeah, I am confident. I think England are gonna. I think they should really get to the final of this tournament.
I think Denmark could be the toughest game of any they've had so far, because just with everything going on with Denmark just now, maybe not in normal times, but the momentum they've got and the whole kind of emotional side of things. The thing is, so that would be Wembley as a semi-final, so that might counteract some of it. So, I've seen a few people mention that England will never have a better chance to get to a final and win the Euros, because if not now, when? You've like one game away from Wembley, the rest all at home essentially. It's got to be now, doesn't it? It has to be.
Yeah, come on. Yeah, this is it, surely. But I'm scared of Italy though. I'd be very nervous about that. But I'd be, if we got to the final, that'd be amazing.
I don't know if I could cope with TV if England got to the final. I'll be honest, it would just.
I mean, I said the other night, I was like, look, I said we've witnessed Liverpool win a Premier League. I'm not witnessing England winning a national tournament during the same pandemic. I'm not having it. Like, that'll be the end of me. I'm like, no, it's worst pandemic ever.
But yeah, now we've been through all the games, I'm kind of going to start opening things up to chat and questions that have came up. One of them was about Pedri, that I'll go back to from earlier on, saying it looks like Spain are going to take him to the Olympics now as well.
Oh.
Is that not?
What's he going to be doing?
A young player to just get injured?
Is he doing shot
javelin?
One of those.
He's carrying the flag at the opening ceremony, just. But surely you shouldn't be playing this and then the Olympics and then going back to a full season of football, especially after like everything pandemic wise. That's asking a young player to break down.
That's weird, isn't it? It's weird with the Olympics as well, because it's like, how much should a country respect football at the Olympics, really? Because it feels like no one really cares about it because the club stuff and other international tournaments are so much more important.
See, I would maybe sort of look at that and go that like there's a lot of other countries take the Olympics a lot more seriously than we obviously do with regards to football. I know the South Americans like really, really sort of, it's part of the development of players that you go to the Olympics. And I think maybe because, I don't know, do we argue because Spain are in transition that it's a good chance for him to get another tournament under his belt? And if he's going to be, are they looking at him as the main guy moving forward? Is it now a thing going, right, okay, you're going to be in this new batch of players, like develop your role essentially, go play another tournament, get used to another tournament, come back. Yeah, you might get burned out by the end of the year, but we want you for the World Cup, so we're sort of putting everything into you, so go and get that experience of playing intense matches in short periods of time. Is that the thinking? Maybe, because he looks pretty good. He looks pretty good, and he could be the guy who could run the team. Maybe.
How old is he? Is he really young?
He's 18, I think. If I remember right, Pedri. So he's really young. He's 18 or 19, one of the two. But do you know, I miss the randomness of Team GB. That one year we had it with Ryan Giggs leading a team of kids.
Yeah,
kids and Paul Warhurst, just like
some of the players that were in that as well that don't even play football anymore. Just it's funny to look back and see the names that were just thrown together at the last minute.
And do you remember they could have picked Beckham and they didn't?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I remember that.
So it's really weird. Yeah,
but it was one of those like, oh, we need to pick one token Scotsman as well. So,
who was it?
I'm trying to remember now. It was a young guy. I'll come back to me. I'm sure someone in chat will remind me, but just one of the more random teams that's ever been assembled and then just given up on instantly. 18, Huddy's confirming there. Yeah, 18, Neil said 18. As well. So he's already played over 40 games this season, is the other thing. So then in the Euros, then to the Olympics, he's going to need a break at some point, you'd think.
But then again, you know, have Barca already recruited for him to have a bit of a break? You know, they brought Depay and they brought Aguero in.
Yeah, that's true.
They can Is this the plan essentially to sort of like restructure the side around him to let him have a little bit of a break when he comes back in, so he's not thrown straight in, I suppose.
Marvin Sordell, you're that memorable. I forgot your name. Scotland technically did refuse to participate in like an official capacity. The way it worked was they just let the FA on it. So like the Scottish Football Association, the Welsh and that did the same. Just said, you run it, and if the guys want to get called up, so be it. So that was kind of it. It wasn't boycott, it was more just, yeah, we just don't want to pretend that we're pals.
Right, yeah.
Essentially. There was no Scots playing according to Wiki. There was one called up, I remember, but maybe they didn't play. In that case, that'll be why I don't remember.
Oh.
But yeah, like the other thing going into these kind of final quarterfinals and into the semis, like Spain, Italy is obviously the stronger side of the draw. If there's a chance that they could hurt each other, is that going to benefit? I'm going to go out on a whim here and say Denmark and England. I know that might be a bit presumptuous, but is it all going to play out into their hands? Essentially, either Denmark or England who gets through, given that you'd think Spain and Italy will be the harder game of the two.
Yeah. What do you mean? Wait, did you say are Spain and Italy going to hurt each other?
Kind of, like, that's a game I could see going to extra time penalties being a lot more expended into it. But Denmark and England, I don't know. I think either Denmark take it or don't really turn up and England take it. I don't really see it being too
I could
tight.
see that one going the distance as well, though. I could see that going to extra time.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I could actually. I could see that one going. And here's the thing, right? Goes to extra time. Kasper Schmeichel saves the penalty.
Oh no!
There, that's it. There's your story right there.
Yeah, I don't know, man. To be honest, it's a bit weird because I think if I was neutral, I'd look at it very different. But because I just know England so well, and I'm kind of nervous about it, I just think anyone is going to be a challenge. Like, I don't think it's going to be easy tonight. And so I don't really know what to hope for. I guess you'd want to play out of Italy and Spain. You'd rather play Spain, I guess.
Yeah.
They seem a bit more. They seem easier to score against, at least. They seem less scary. But even then, it's just the mentality of England is a whole other thing. It's a bit like when you play a football game. And quite often the player doesn't have the mentality of the real player. Like, for example, when I was doing one of my PES streams, Timo Werner, I do international management as well now, manage Mexico. Werner scored like 3 or 4 goals against us for Germany. And it's like, he would not have scored these chances in real life. You know what I mean? He's not, just because his stats match that, and I feel like it's a bit similar with England. It's like, just because they are very good, we know that mentally they can be weak.
Yeah.
And so that's the biggest fear, really.
The one thing I have noticed with England, the fans aren't getting carried away as much as they have done before, even comparing it to Russia.
Are they not?
Like,
really?
There's still a degree of it. There is still a degree of it, but...
Have you turned off Twitter? That's got to be just literally... I'll be
no,
don't want to tell you, nothing like that, no.
Like, comparing it to Russia when they were all wearing waistcoats and it's coming home was played every 2 seconds, I think there is a bit more... Maybe it's a fear because it looks like an easy run. Maybe it's that kind of thing, what you're saying, Bilal, that's like... Oh,
maybe you're getting a little bit sort of like you got to think at the World Cup though. I mean, they had the difficult run of Panama and Tunisia, so you're right. Yeah, now they can maybe just relax a little bit. They've got an easier route now.
But yeah, I don't know. I think if they win tonight, I think it goes full throttle again. In terms of this is our tournament, we're winning this, blah 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 blah. But there does seem to be a little bit of trepidation there about Ukraine. Like some people are maybe thinking, "Oh, Iceland, let's get through this and we'll see what happens."
Yeah, I know it is. I think a lot more people are just a bit more nervous than usual because it feels like we could actually win it. Whereas in the past, like even that World Cup when we got to the semi-final, was it the semi-final or was it Croatia? The semi. Yeah,
Croatia won it. Yeah.
Even then, I personally didn't think we'd win that tournament at any point. Really, you know what I mean? I don't know what it is, but now I just feel like there's a lot of strength in depth as well. Yeah, I think you can see it happen. You can kind of see England winning it, so it makes it a bit more makes you a bit more nervous.
I think with the nations that are left in, like as we've said, like this is the best chance for you to do it. Like you can't look at that 4 years down the line, 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, going, can't believe we missed. That was the goal that we're shooting. Like everybody was out. Like all we had to do was get past Ukraine, and then like you've got then like a pick up like a team like Denmark or Czech, a transitional Spain and Italy. Like they're your two sort of teams left. If someone offered you that at the start of the tournament, you would just be right. Yeah, I'll have both hands, please. Thanks very much.
Yeah.
We'll do that. So.
I mean, on the bright side, we'll never hear about Euro 96 again, because it'll all be about Euro 2020 for the next kind of 10 years or so.
They'll be replaying the 0-0, won't they? They'll be like, here's like 4 years down the line. 4 years down the line, they're like, let's just cut back. There's been a huge world event. Let's just cut back to see what Grant Hanley thinks of this the 0-0.
Genuinely, like our TV coverage in the future, I could see them putting highlights in a London Dykes miss and all that kind of stuff, just like glorifying it. But there is a scenario where we could be the only team that haven't been beaten by England if they win this tournament, which again builds into a narrative as well. I quite like the thought of that at least if you go on and win the tournament, we're the only side that have held you, basically.
I guess that's something. I mean, I'm not an England fan who hates Scotland, really.
Yeah.
I don't have that thing, really. I don't really hate I don't even really hate Germany. I much more have those emotions around club football.
Yeah, definitely.
So I don't really know, like this sort of England-Scotland rivalry, I don't really get it in a way. I'm not really into that thing,
I think someone on the news had said it the other day that it's a bit like the sort of the England-Germany rivalry. It's like it means more to England than it means to Germany, and like Scotland rivalry probably means slightly more to Scotland than it means to England. Like it's just that thing, and it's that cascading sort of level of importance, I suppose. And I'm like yourself, I'm much more club over country, but yeah.
Just I'm going to call out something in the chat here. Willie, Scotland will release a commemorative DVD. I take it you missed England's Time for Heroes DVD from Russia. It's only fair. Yeah, like obviously we've got to pick our glories, so to speak. There is a bit of me that is very jealous of the fact that there's a genuine, real good shot of England winning this. And, like, I think people will be quite, how do I put this, full throttle about it in terms of not wanting England to win if they get through this as well. Like, you'll see people doing the whole buying the Danish shirts, buying the Danish flags for the semi-final, all that jazz. Twitter's going to get interesting, so hold on and buckle in, folks. Is what
I've got shares in bacon. That's what I'm doing.
But any little thing, you'll just see folk resort to all pettiness. Pettiness is the word I'm looking for here.
Oh yeah,
I love about football, especially club football. Like you were saying, I love the pettiness of it. It's great.
Oh, me too. Yeah.
See when you just need to shake your head and go, "What?" There's nothing better.
Fully grown humans, adults, just resorting to being kids. Well, I don't want you to win. No, I don't like you. I don't like you. We're not friends.
Right, I'll move our chat on to something else that's came up here. Actually, I'll finish off with Willie. What you're saying there. It's just part of the fun. Exactly. There's nothing kind of bad about the international rivalries, and we'll not dwell on what happened on Twitter with the German girl or whatever. We'll move on from that swiftly, because I've just said that and I know somebody will bring it back instantly. So we've talked about the quarterfinals so far. We touched on the Golden Boot yesterday. Lukaku can't win it now. Still Cristiano Ronaldo's on top. Of the teams that are left, I don't really think there's a out-and-out goal scorer that's going to challenge Cristiano. So are we seriously going to have a guy went out in the round of 16 win this thing?
So like is Ronaldo on 4?
He's on 5, and he's got 1 assist as well, which is a tiebreaker.
Oh, okay. And so do you know what the next highest is? There anyone? So who's left in the tournament with the highest goals? Do you know that?
I think it's Ciro Immobile that's left. It's 2 behind.
Okay.
You've got Raheem Sterling's got is it 2 or 3 now?
3, isn't it?
Yeah,
3.
Yeah.
So Sterling, if he gets another couple, I think he's had an assist as well, so he could take it. But
It could get
Patrick
to the point where
actually is on 3 as well for the Czechs.
Oh,
So
could get to the
there's
point
one
where
or
it's
two.
England versus Italy in the final. That's the Golden Boot decider, which is the real tournament
The
when you
real-
think about it. Like,
Imagine if the third place playoff is a Golden Boot decider. Assuming we're still getting a third place playoff here.
oh, that would be brilliant.
Spicy.
it would be nice for Sterling to get it, just because of the amount of abuse he gets and all the stuff from the media he used to get as well. It would be just really be nice to shut all the people up that don't like him.
Yeah, absolutely.
It could happen if he could get a couple tonight.
I think this is a kind of game tonight that Sterling could get a couple. Like Ukraine, you'd think if England take the lead, Ukraine need to go at them, and their defence isn't great. So Sterling's the one guy that'll get in behind and potentially get 3-4 chances.
Yeah. So I'll pick him as my top goal scorer. Sterling. Are we all picking a guy?
I think,
If you
you
fancy
know
it.
what? I'm with you. I can't look past Sterling. I think he's your main outlet. He's the guy who's getting the goals. Like, if it goes to Immobile or Insigne for Italy, I think it's between those 3 really as to who's going to get, because I think they're the nations that are going to go deepest in the tournament. So even just 1-0, 1-0, 1-0, that's enough to get you into the final.
I was very disappointed with Immobile last night because I captained him in my fantasy football team. And he did nothing. He wasted a couple of chances as well.
Yeah. He had one where he kind of fell over rather than kick it as well, which was a bit weird.
Very disappointing.
See, when you see a footballer try to do something, it's almost like their brain just doesn't compute and they just fall over.
It humanises them, though. It makes you just go, I could be a professional footballer because I'd do that.
I'm just saying there's no third place playoff cheers, Wald. So I suspected that might be the case. There goes the Golden Boot decider, sadly.
Never mind.
Worst tournament ever.
Yeah.
Right. Other than that, is there anything else you guys want to throw in chat-wise? Anything you want to bring up? Any topics?
I think the only thing that
Totally
I've
sick.
noticed from the tournament so far is that this has been the first tournament in my memory where the goalkeepers haven't complained about the ball swinging throughout the air. So that's like, I don't know if that's a new thing where they've just decided that footballs now don't just swing anymore. They were right, you know what? Well, let's not put the technology in swinging footballs. Let's just do the go in the straight line. So it's been interesting to see no goalkeepers complaining.
Maybe it is a really good football. Maybe that's what's made it a good tournament. Because do you remember the Jubilani? In 2010. Everyone said that's what ruined the tournament.
It was a penny floor, wasn't it? Like you kicked it and it was like Shaolin soccer. It would like go behind you.
Oh, do you remember? No one. It was awful. No one could cross the ball. It just keep going out of play. Maybe we need to. I don't even know what the football's called. I don't know what any football has been called since the Jubilani.
But you know what? That's the way it should be. Like, you shouldn't know the name of the football.
You're right.
It's an Adidas Tango, the Mitre one, and that's it. Like,
The Mitre one, the orange one that used to give you scars when you played indoors.
the second you start knowing the names of footballs, nah, it's gone too far.
That year's got a lot to answer for. They had the Jubilani and Vuvuzelas.
Yeah.
It was a bad year for football that year.
Oh, that was a terrible tournament. That's what really makes me appreciate this tournament. Because it's like people who don't watch football much, maybe it's like you don't understand. It can be really bad.
Yeah.
It can be miserable and so boring. Like even the World Cup final can just be really boring. So it's just been so good that it feels like almost every team has just had such a good go in this tournament.
There's nothing worse than watching, let's say, Iran Latvia with Vuvuzelas going for the full 90 minutes of a 0-0 snooze fest.
Yeah.
I
bet the England game's going to be 0-0 now.
Also, as well, so there's 2 other things so I'm glad we've not seen Mexican waves. I'm happy with that.
We have seen one or two.
I think we have, yeah.
They've just been hidden.
It's the international sign for boredom, isn't it? In a football match, Mexican wave. And also, what we still need to stamp out, right? And I'm going to start a campaign for this next year. Is if you see yourself on the big telly screen, don't wave. It's 2021. Like how can you be, look, I'm on the telly? Like, come on, just get a grip and just go, all right, and then get on with it. But nah.
My favourite thing is when somebody's really upset, they're down the dumps, they're almost crying, then they're on the TV screen, it's like,
Yeah.
so wait a minute, this is my 5 minutes. But the Swiss guy takes a biscuit, though. I think that's the best kind of meme that I've seen come out of this tournament. The one that
Like, how ripped was he though when he took his shirt off? Like he just
he just goes Super Saiyan at this point. He just ripped his shirt open. He hadn't even taken it off. Don't know where his hat and that disappeared either. He was just full on adrenaline at that point.
That was great, man.
It's so good, wasn't it?
Great game, yeah.
Like that's the moments to make a tournament, especially when you're a guy with no horse in the race, with your team being out. That just gets you brought right back into it, and hopefully we get more of that. Fingers crossed. Like,
Yeah.
the only thing is, today is underdog day, so like between Spain and Italy on that side, you wouldn't say either of them's an underdog as such. They're both established nations. Even if Denmark get through, they're still an underdog, I would say. You've got the Czechs, you've got Ukraine. So if anything's going to happen like that, it is going to be today. Not to be a precursor to disaster, but
Honestly, you just don't know. I don't know. The Germany win though, I think that's filled a lot of people with confidence.
yeah.
You know.
And England played them perfectly, is the other thing, that Germany game. As much as we say the Germans aren't the team they used to be, still got to beat them. And if Thomas Muller scores, it's a different game.
I mean, they're still good, you know. Like some people
Yeah.
have talked about them like they're sort of finished. They've still got, you know, they're still decent. They battered Portugal, didn't they? Was it 4-1?
4-2, I think it was.
4-2, yeah. So they're still, you know, that was a very good win.
Like,
It's
after
the
that game,
same
people
way, like-
said, oh, they're back. So,
It's the same way as like talking about Croatia. It's like you've still got like someone like a Modric who's playing at the top level a lot. Like, you know, Germany's still got players who are key players for the big teams in the world. Like they're
Yeah.
not bad players. Like they're not the team they were. But as you say, you played them right. And even if Muller scores, you've still got enough about you to go down the end and get that second goal if you needed to. So yeah, you played the game perfectly. Can't really complain, to be honest.
we'll get to Charmander's thing in a minute about the best keepers so far, but can I just say I've never been so insulted in all my life to be called the Scottish Danny Murphy.
Wow.
That's actually the worst thing anyone has ever said about me on Twitch, and I've seen some things. So thank you for that, Mal. Appreciate it. But yeah, keepers, I think Sommer's the one. I was maybe getting a bit carried away last night on Twitter, but I said he's the best keeper in the tournament. That I'd seen anyway. He was just so good. So
I'd
good.
say
for Scotland.
Donnarumma's been very good.
Yeah.
I guess the thing is as well with keepers, Donnarumma's had less to do, hasn't he? Because he's got a better defence, but he has looked very solid. But yeah, the Swiss keeper was great last night.
Yeah.
Pickford's not been bad either. He's made a couple of good saves for England. You could argue that he's the reason that they've not, well, obviously their defence is part of it, but he's a big part of the reason that they've not conceded as yet, which is a surprise given that the meme of him is T-Rex arms, but he's doing the business.
The Czech keeper had a blinder against us in the first game as well. He was outstanding. Like, and you're right.
He was
I think
our best
Pickford's
player,
pulled
I
out some great saves, and
Yeah.
I think Son is having a tournament. And like we spoke about the other day, like if you look at Son, he's the only player who, according to Football Manager, can also play right back and right wing. So just I think like stick it. They should have stuck him up top yesterday. He'd have been brilliant.
We'll go full. What's Liverpool's keeper's name again? It's just escaped.
Alisson.
Alisson,
Go
go
full
full
rush goalies.
Yeah, there's the Donson, the Czech keeper as well. Is it Vaclik his name is? I think it's Vaclik. But he was fantastic. Obviously against us, and he's been great elsewhere as well. That might be the one issue Denmark have got. They're not going to get in easy in this one. By the way, we've just had a raid come in, so thank you very much for Dupe coming in for the last kind of 5-10 minutes. Appreciate it, mate. Welcome
Thank
into
you.
Euro breakfast chat. I've just seen it's coming home, getting spammed in the chat as well, so this is how we're going to end this, I think. End it with some England's chat for Dupe, since how they've came over. So let's get some predictions on the doors for today's games. We'll start with Czech Denmark, actually. Czech Republic Denmark. What do we reckon, chaps?
3-1 to Denmark. I'm gonna say.
Yeah, I'll go 2-0. 2-1 Denmark. I'll go. I'm gonna be slightly more cautious on it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a full house. I'm going probably 2-0, I'll say.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't see the Czechs scoring, or if they do, maybe just the one. And then the main one that people want to talk about, Ukraine, England.
I think
Let's get
2-1.
some predictions.
Yeah, 2-1 to England. I think after conceding. I think maybe even an extra time. It might be I think it might be 1-1 and then England score in extra time. One of those.
I think 1-0 on penalties.
Oh, penalties. Ooh.
Well, everyone misses their penalties except one.
Everyone. I'm not saying who. I'm not saying who wins, but it's going to be 1-0 on penalties. No, my heart says 5-0 Ukraine. My head says 2-0 England.
I think this will go to extra time.
Yeah.
I'm going to say England at the end of extra time, because the thing with Ukraine is they were falling apart at the end of that Sweden game. They were just walking wounded. If they go to extra time, they're not going to win that. I can't see it.
Yeah.
They'll be like 5 players down with cramp every 5 minutes, going full Italy. But yeah, I'll say England by this kind of odd goal in extra time will be my prediction there. And then you're going to hear 3 lines and it's coming home on repeat everywhere you go.
Have you heard the Ukrainian version though, for just in case Ukraine
There
wins?
actually
Brilliant,
is.
it's so good.
There actually is. It's funny you mention that. There is. It's coming east, I believe they've called it. So, that was pre-tournament. They came up with that. Andrew Todos, who's been on this already, Zoya Londonsk, and for anyone that missed him, he's now, not that I'm taking credit for this, but he's now on Sky Sports News and BBC News and all that.
Oh, cool.
Started here, started on this team. But, so he did a kind of just take the mic version of it, and suddenly it's getting actual plays in Scottish radio, which is hilarious. Pettiness. Might as well end on a note of pettiness, eh? So, any more, gentlemen? Any final thoughts?
No. See, I just said again to try and get something. It never works, really. It never works.
I think this is your best chance. I think if you don't win it this year, then you should just never enter a tournament again.
I agree.
Should be made to think about what you have done, and and you're right. I like the idea that if you do end up winning it, that we're the only team you couldn't beat or even score past. So. So we've essentially morally win the trophy.
Yeah,
that's how it works.
Yeah.
We win the fair play trophy and the sporting.
So you should be wanting England to win then, really.
No, I'm not bothered about the sporting trophy. It's not a real trophy. I'd rather you didn't win and go, yeah, you didn't even score past us either. And now you've got a rivalry with Ukraine you never thought you had. That's what I'd like.
Yeah.
Imagine the state of Scotland if Ukraine win this. The amount of Ukrainian shirts that'll get bought and flags. And
a lot of people will be happy around the world. I think.
Imagine all the little babies born next year with Ukrainian first names.
So Yarmolenko.
Yarmolenko.
I don't think I know when you were born. You were born in 2022, weren't you? Oh, yeah. Been in a big tournament happened in 2021. A bunch of Yuris walking around the East End of Glasgow.
That's got Yuri Geller connotations. That's not happening.
Oh, good boy, yeah.
I did.
Ukrainian name.
I did see a tweet. I did see a tweet earlier today saying I think it was the last 4 times England have played Ukraine. They've beaten them once, and then it's been draws and lost to Ukraine once. So
be afraid.
Yeah,
but
I think the fitness. I think it would be the fitness of the players. A bit like when. Sorry, it's a random thing to bring up, but when Arsenal played Hull in an FA Cup final and it went to extra time, and then it was just purely you could just tell it was the fitness of the players. Mm-hmm. The whole players were knackered, and the Arsenal just and I think it will be, if it goes to extra time, it will be that with England as well.
I mean, you've got legs on the bench, haven't you? If you're tiring and you get Sancho comes on, or Rashford comes on, or even Grealish comes on, it's it can't help but slightly deflate you a little bit. You're like, come on, we've ran all match and now we've got to keep winning this guy. Come on, that's not fair.
Exactly.
So I think, you've absolutely got enough about you to get through.
Mm. So we will revisit this tomorrow morning in the post-mortem, and we'll see if it is coming home or whether they're going home, one of the two. But Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me first thing on a Saturday morning. Really appreciate it. Dragging you out your beds.
Thank you. Yeah, I never do
pleasure.
anything this early. I don't know if you could tell.
It's been a new world for me as well. I'm getting used to it slowly but surely. But no, genuinely, really appreciate you jumping in, gents, and everyone watching. And Dupe, I should say, for the raid as well. Everyone that came over with Dupe, thank you very much. We are going to finish up here. Enjoy the football. Tony will be back in a matter of 2 hours with the
2
FM
hours,
playoff
yeah.
draft. You might hear my voice in the background, so go and watch Tony from 12 doing that. When are you next live, Dilla?
I think on Monday now. Oh no, actually, I'm not. I'm very busy with stuff because I'm making a film.
I saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've got loads of work to do on that. I'm doing a lot of stuff. So I'm. It's quite like sporadic now, my Twitch schedule. But I will be back on next week, probably Wednesday now.
And talking of which, go and find them on Twitter and get tickets if you're in the London area to Damned United. The Damned
Oh, and
United.
it should be coming. Like, it's not confirmed, but it should be coming to Glasgow as well.
Outstanding.
And,
I'll be there. Can't wait.
Cheers. Yeah.
Oh, on you go. I thought you were going to say something else.
Oh, I was just saying, we're probably gonna do a few little dates around the UK, kind of maybe Dublin as well. But yeah, still it's very early in it, so I have to sell the London one out first.
That's cool, man.
Cheers.
I'm excited for it. Like the fact that something like that off Twitch can go into cinemas is outstanding work, isn't it?
That's crazy, yeah.
But thank you very much for watching, folks. Enjoy your days. Enjoy the football if you can. Watch in front of the sofa rather than behind. And we'll see you again tomorrow, bright and early, 9 o'clock, same as always. Catch you.